So we're in December now, and we're getting towards the time of frosts. So this is a little short film about what I do to put the engine away for the winter to avoid it getting damaged if we have freezing weather. So the one thing we want to be careful of is that the boiler, which has got water in it, that the water doesn't freeze and then damage the boiler. And there's a few other bits and pieces as well that could get damaged by freezing. But the main thing is to blow down the boiler and blow all the water out from the lowest point, which is this drain hole plug here. There's one on the other side, but we'll concentrate on this one just now. So what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to pressurise the boiler with the compressed air line, and then it'll blow the water out completely, and it'll also tend to bring out any sludge and muck that's left in the boiler from all the steaming during the summer. So we've got the compressed air line here. We've got an adapter that lets me feed some compressed air into the boiler. So if I screw this into the injector overflow pipe, so now we can connect some compressed air into the boiler. Oh, check the regulator is shut. If she's in mid-gear, that's okay. Otherwise it'll take off on me. Okay, so we've now got 80 odd pounds per square inch in the boiler. So here's a little bung I'm going to take out. It's the lowest point in the boiler. I may get wet, but my objective is not to lose the bung. Water level's all down now. So it's safe to say there is now no water left in the boiler. And I have not lost the bung, it's still here. So here's the little drain plug that screws into the hole there. It's tapered, so actually all you have to do is just screw it into the copper boiler and it makes a nice seal. What I actually do as well, just to help, is I put a little bit of PTFE tape on it. Just wrap that round a couple of times, and if you wrap it in the correct direction, then it tends to wind itself onto the screw thread rather than coming off. So put the little tapered thing on there, put it in the spanner, and then it just goes into there and it screws in. It doesn't need to be very tight, just like that. So that's it, ready for next year. But the question is, how then do you make the nice tapered hole in the boiler? So there's a piece of silver steel. I cut the same tapered thread on it, and literally all I did, the copper's soft, and I just wound that into the hole that was there in the boiler, and it literally swaged and deformed the copper out to leave a tapered hole exactly the same shape as the taper on the plug. So it's a good seal even without the PTFE tape. So I've got water all over the motion work, so I don't want to put it away for the winter like that, it'll all go rusty. So I've got the compressed air line, I can give it a blow off. So the other thing we've got is in the tunnel here, there's a trace heating element. It's just a tiny heating element. It takes about 10 watts when it's on, and it runs the length underneath the engine just to prevent pipes and pressure gauges and things freezing. And it's driven by here, it's off the mains, but it runs off something called a frost stat, and the frost stat only comes on, I've set it I think for about 2 degrees C, 1 or 2 degrees C, and then that comes on, and just a tiny trace of heat underneath the engine. Okay. So the last thing to do is to drain the tender down. We don't want to leave water in that over winter. So these are the pipes, the blue pipes that connect the tender to the engine. So that's the tender draining down now. I will fill it up next year when it's time for playing trains again. So just before I put it in the shed, the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to manually just wind the oil pump just to feed a little bit of oil into the cylinders, just a bit of extra oil. There's oil in there from when it was last running. The cylinders are actually made of cast iron, and cast iron has a porous surface, so it absorbs oil from when it's running, and it doesn't rust up even over the winter. Although everyone says it will do, but it doesn't. So just before finally putting Bongo away, I've got a blanket we can put over all the paintwork there, and that'll keep the heat in a little bit from that trace heating element. And another one to go over the tender, and over the cab to keep the fittings dry and warm. Right, that's it. Goodbye Bongo until next summer, and more happy steaming. Ooh, there's a giant spider there. Not quite as scary as the ones you might find if you live in South America or Australia. Good night, Bongo. See you in the summer.